right, let's talk about weeds and keeping weeds under control. Weeds can be a huge nightmare. Believe me, I know. Um, if allowed to grow, they crowd out your crops and they take nutrients and resources from your garden. They also attract bugs and disease and they just diminish the aesthetic of your growing area. A weed is any plant that is unwanted, usually that spreads and grows easily. Ground that has not been cared for or gardened will have the most weeds. Your first year in a new yard that has been neglected will be the hardest when it comes to weeds. Once you start getting rid of them and are careful to not let them go to seed, there will be less and less. Sometimes a plant that is a weed in one place will not be a weed in another region because it will not grow so easily. So, for example, banana plant is a weed in Florida, but in Utah it's a really beautiful little bedding plant that doesn't spread well at all. So that's just one example of that. A hoe is really valuable in being able to efficiently get rid of weeds. If you keep your hoe nice and sharp, it will do a much better job, so keep that in mind. Mulch is also really valuable, especially in the vegetable garden. I know a whole another video about mulch, but I prefer landscape fabric or roofing material or black plastic, but there are also great organic options like grass clippings and pea hay that do really well. Let me just mention too that raised beds that are a little bit taller with soil brought in can also help a lot with weeds. If you've got a big problem with weeds in your vegetable garden or flower beds, what happens is the new soil will be totally free of any weed seeds. So that will give you a new start, and then having the beds raised a little will keep unwanted plants from wandering in. So that's why raised beds really are great for avoiding weeds. They don't have a lot of weeds in them. Also, because the soil is so soft, if you do get weeds, you can just really easily pluck them out. They're not kind of hard into the ground. So that's something to consider if you've got a lot of weeds that you're fighting. There are also synthetic products like glyphosate, also known as Roundup, that kills everything it touches. So be very careful with overspray if you choose to use these types of products. Um, they're definitely not organic, so steer clear if you're a purely organic gardener. If you are an organic gardener, smothering is a tactic to killing unwanted plants. So what you would do is lay cardboard on the area and then put soil on top, and then the cardboard will eventually break down, and that can be a great method if you have an area that needs a new start. And just really quick, mentioning the overspray, here's an example of an overspray disease that came from a neighbor spraying their lawn, which landed on my potatoes. So again, overspray means just if there's a wind, um, it will just blow some of the chemical droplets onto maybe some plants that you didn't intend. So just a note about that. Be careful with overspray if you are using any kind of chemicals.